Hello everyone, welcome to a day in our neurodivergent friendly house. I thought today we could just spend a nice cozy day together, but I do want to talk a little bit about neurodivergency and how this is key to how we live and do the things that we do every day. We have set our home up to be as friendly to some of the challenges that neurodiversity can bring, and throughout the video I'll touch on some of these. But right now, let's get started with the day with an early morning dog walk, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Issa, and I am currently trying and mostly struggling to get myself through the process and waiting lists involved in getting tested for ADHD and autism. I make intentional homemaking videos with my wife Blaise, who is diagnosed with autism, and she was diagnosed in her 30s. And we have worked quite hard over the years to get our home to a place where we can both cope with it and that it is friendly to our different challenges, because we do have similar challenges, but we also have some different ones too. And it can be a challenge in itself just to make those work together. But one of the solutions we have to this is actually the routine you're seeing right now. Routine is incredibly important to Blaise. It's less important to me, although I do thrive when in a good routine. I just really struggle to stick to it. And that's why we have our dog walk in the morning. It gets us out of the house and exercising, and it just helps us start the day really well. It helps in some small ways too, like I find that if I don't walk the dog first thing, then I really struggle to do it later in the day, just because it interrupts the flow of whatever I'm doing. So we try and get a good dog walk done first thing. It's also a good time just to connect and stay and spend time together too. But back from walking, I just want to talk a little bit about having a launch pad by the front door. We do this by having a cupboard by the front door, and this is where we hang up coats and things like that. But we also have a set of drawers in there too, and it's a set of 5 drawers, and we have one drawer is labelled for each of us. So Blaise has one, I have one, both the dog and the cat have their own. And this is just a place that we can keep the things that we need together and in one place. So it helps me and Blaise by making sure that everything we need when we leave the house is easy to grab. So it makes it harder to forget things, which is an issue that we have. And for the pets, it just means that everything we need is there and ready for us to grab. We know where it is. And you'll see from the video, the cat also knows exactly what these drawers are for as well. She knows which one is hers. Cora as well, she does know which is her drawer, and the minute it gets opened, she knows it's walk time. But a launch pad can look however you need it to look. For us, it's a set of drawers where we just keep everything we need. We also do have a list here, which just acts as a reminder to make sure we don't forget things when we leave the house. Because there are things that when you have sensitivities to sound and light, for example, having your sunglasses or your headphones is kind of important to being able to cope with going outside. So we have a list that just reminds us of everything we might need. But the dog walk is only part of our morning routine, and our morning routine is probably one of the most important routines we have. And that's because of executive dysfunction. And this is just where you struggle with the processes involved in performing tasks. This means things like your working memory, your attention, your ability to plan tasks and manage time. If you're someone that often leaves a room only to forget why you left it and what you wanted to do, that's sort of what that working memory might look like in practice. The morning routine just ensures that we get the bulk of what needs doing or done before I get distracted by the day and before Blaise goes to work. And this just includes things like feeding the animals, putting some laundry in, emptying the dishwasher, and we do all of those chores before making breakfast and coffee. And then Blaise heads off to work, and I sit down with my planners and work out what's in store for me for the day. So the first part of my morning is often spent doing a little bit of planning, editing, or catching up with things that need doing. It does depend on the day though. I follow the daily focus from the Fly Lady routine, which sets aside different focuses on different days. So today happens to be a planning day, tomorrow is my weekly maintenance clean, and so on. Planning and organising is actually quite a large part of our life, and it might seem like it's just good practice for an organised home, and I guess it is, But for us, it means slightly more, because Blaze in particular has a real struggle with anything unexpected happening or plans changing. This means we do live our lives to various planners, and we do even have processes in place to deal with when plans have to change. Usually, changes come through me first because I deal with it a little better than she does, and then I have to slowly drip feed the information to Blaze, just in little bits so that she can adjust to change slowly. And this might mean that I just start with by saying something like, oh, I think our plans tomorrow might have to change, which means that she can then go away and think about it. And then a little bit later, I can come to her with a little bit more information about what's changing. And then after a little bit of time, she's adjusted and we have avoided any autistic meltdowns, for the most part anyway. But there is also a problem with this, is planning is actually something that I really struggle with, because I am just not good at it. I mean, I'm great at planning stuff. I'm not very good at then following through on the plans. And this is where my executive dysfunction comes into play. And it is probably one of our biggest sticky areas when it comes to managing our different needs. We are always working on it though, and we do manage to meet somewhere in the middle where I plan and stick to routine as much as I can, and Blaze actually plans into her schedule and mindset a little flexibility, and she does that for me, so all in all it tends to work out. So after planning and a coffee, I'm going to make us some lunch. Today I'm making us a stew using leftover chicken and a homemade stock. We try and eat our main meal at lunchtime where possible, because we found that we sleep better and just feel better if we switch the lunch and dinner around and eat a lighter meal in the evening. I also do usually try and cook more than we need so that I can feed us leftovers the next day, and this just helps me free up some time that would usually be spent cooking. One thing that we're lucky with is that we seem to have escaped many of the food and eating difficulties that neurodivergent people can struggle with. We do have some food rules, but not too many. The way we eat is actually more ruled by different medical conditions. Blaze has reactive hypoglycemia and her blood sugar levels can get wildly all over the place, so we do eat a certain way for that. But to complicate things further, I have IBS and can have flare-ups triggered by some types of food, and we have been pretty bad for ignoring those in the last few months, because they also happen to be the really nice foods. So I have actually been feeling pretty bad, and we've had to go on a bit of a stricter diet of eliminating those foods the last few months. But that is life, and we all have different things that we need to account for. This is just ours. While lunch is cooking, I want to show you a little bit of how Blaze copes throughout her office days. She actually finds exercise one of the biggest things to help her feel better, both mentally and physically, and she also finds that if she has to stay still in meetings, she really struggles to focus. So we got walking pads. She uses hers during meetings to walk while talking and doing whatever it is she needs to do in those meetings. It helps her focus better on the meeting and means she gets less overwhelmed and can just contribute better to the meeting. We've also set her up a tea making station in one of the bedrooms because her office is upstairs and mine is attached to the kitchen downstairs. And I find it really difficult to focus if she is in and out of the room making tea throughout the day. I tend to work best when I can really hyper-focus in on one task, and any distraction at all can mean I lose focus and I can't get it back again. But she's also used this time making tea as a way to get in a little extra exercise for herself. This is called habit stacking, where you build an association with one activity with another one. So every time she goes to put the kettle on, she grabs one of her weights and does a couple of sets of micro exercises during the time that the kettle boils. The difference this has made to her fitness is amazing, and just goes to show that even a little can make a big difference. I'm not so good at this, and my exercise is much more sporadic. I do need to work on routining this in a way that works, but I haven't found the solution yet. But right now, lunch is ready, and it's a lot tastier than it looks. There is something about stew that just doesn't look as nice as other meals. But as long as it tastes good, that's what matters. We do try and eat lunch together as long as our meetings and deadlines allow for it. It gives us both a break in the day and makes us ready for the afternoon. And I think this is the time we tend to differ the most. The afternoon is my most productive time. That's when my brain comes alive and I can get stuff done. Blaze is kind of the opposite. She works best in the early morning. This is another one of those things that we've had to balance. I get up earlier than I naturally normally would to help her get her day started, and we also go to bed earlier than natural for me to make this possible. Blaze compromises with the late afternoon and early evening by staying in her office longer than her working hours. This means I get a good chunk of time in the afternoon when my brain is at its best. She usually uses that time to work on her other projects, of which there are many, so it does work out alright for both of us. But back to our day. After lunch, Blaze heads back to her office and I get on with my afternoon. This can look different depending on the day. Today I did a little bit of meal planning as part of my planning day, and then started my afternoon routine, which is another fairly important one. This is when I would do most of the house chores, which is not something that comes easy to me. So we have worked quite hard to make it as easy as possible to keep the house clean and tidy, and one of the absolute best things we have done is our cleaning wall. It's not as fancy as it sounds, but I am pretty proud of it. We realise that both of us struggle with cleaning because of how many barriers there can be to it. And what I mean by this is something like wiping the kitchen side. It seems easy enough as a task, but if you don't have the cleaning spray to hand or you can't find a cleaning cloth, then suddenly the easy task becomes difficult. And that difficulty is enough to make us go nope and ignore the task. It just becomes overwhelming as a task to do, so we don't do it. So this is another aspect of having executive dysfunction. I imagine someone with a different brain might find it super easy to go and grab those things, but for both of us, it just doesn't work that way. So the cleaning wall is just a place we can keep cleaning equipment so that it's tidy, easy to put away, and more importantly, easy to grab when we need it. We also supplement this by having cleaning equipment wherever we need. We have 40 cleaning cloths, so it's very hard to run out of them. We keep cleaning cloths in the bathroom covered with the bathroom cleaner, and we also have 2 vacuum cleaners, one upstairs and one downstairs, just so that there is no reason not to pick up a cleaner and deal with a mess. The afternoon routine also helps routine some of these daily tasks, which for us is a quick bathroom wipe to keep on top of that, and a vacuum of the main problem areas downstairs. So today isn't a cleaning day for me, so that's about it as far as cleaning goes. So I spent the rest of my day getting on with some reading and studying that I need to do for uni. I am only a few weeks into this academic year and I am already behind, which is typical for me. I do need to catch up again as I have assignments due very soon, which means that my brain is likely to go in hyper-focus mode, which is one of my most productive times. I work best when I have a really tight deadline. If a deadline's too far away or too ambiguous, I just really struggle to focus. So I often find that I get behind and then the week before an assignment's due, I suddenly catch up and hyper-focus in on uni. I've kind of learned to accept that that's just how things work for me. But as we get to the end of the day, I want to talk a little bit about the things that aren't obvious in this video, because this is only a small snapshot of some of the things we do to keep our home calm and under control. I focused on the cleaning and organising of the home for the most part. But in addition, we have many little micro routines and systems in place to help. We have lists by the doors to make sure we don't forget things. We have lists in bullet journals for if we have to go away anywhere, or packing lists, that sort of thing. We have so many headphones in this house to help with sound sensitivity, and during the day both of us spend the day with headphones in, and that's just to avoid noise distractions and sensitivity issues. We also tend to keep our lighting low and not too bright, and have lots of ways to control temperature because we also struggle to regulate our body temperature. Most of the things we do are not even things that I think about, they're just second nature at this point. So if you have any questions, then please do ask them in the comments and one of us will be happy to answer. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really looking forward to making my next few weeks' content. The cozy and holiday season is probably my favourite time of year and I have a lot of plans. If you're interested, I'll pop a link to a video explaining Blaze's autumn diagnosis, and if you want more videos like this, then we have lots for you to take a look at. I hope you have a lovely day.